getting ready to get going. This little bit of a promotion with what we're doing with Phoenix Comicon in a few weeks. I'm Gareth, I'm the owner of Skewed and Reviewed, and there's some of our contact info up there. We are a movie, game, entertainment, travel, and pop culture website, magazine. We do a syndicated radio show out of Seattle, and we also do a lot of public speaking. 2 offices, one in Seattle, one in, well, here. We opened 2 years ago, which covers the Southwest. Then we have regional offices. And a few weeks ago, I know some people out in the lobby told me they saw that. You guys remember hearing or reading anything about the big laser tag event where they had all the people in costume out and we were having them battle it out for charity? That was something that we put together. And we're going to be doing another one in September with haunted houses, and we're going to be doing some horror festivals. We got a lot of stuff that we're going to be working on with the entertainment center here, so we're really excited about that. And anyway, a couple days ago they told me that they were doing the Iron Man thing. We were actually, when we heard about it, we were already watching the advanced screening for it. And not only do I think you guys are going to love it, make sure you stay until after the credits, because there is a bonus scene that you will not want to miss, and it is very good. For those of you who haven't heard, the movie just hit, they've already released it in certain parts of the world yet. It hasn't gone in wide release, and it's already hit $309 million. So while Robert Downey Jr. is only committed to doing Avengers 2 and has hinted about walking away from it, I think by the end of this weekend, they're probably going to be pushing 420 million worldwide. You could pretty much bet at that point Disney's going to put a check in front of them and say, fill in your own numbers. You know, put as many zeros behind it as you want, because I don't think, like the other heroes, he's not one that you can replace. You know, this is not it. The interesting thing about it, for those of you who don't know, he had a lot of problems with substance abuse and stuff earlier in his career. And he had mentioned how there are elements of Tony Stark which were very reminiscent of the way he used to be, with the self-destructive, narcissistic, self-centered tendencies. And so, you know, he literally has become Tony Stark in personification, everything. Anyway, site looks a mess at the moment because some lovely person decided to do an all-out hack on it. And we have it up in a very basic black and white state now so we can keep posting, but we don't have all the graphics and the fancy bells and whistles. So what we're doing is we're restoring all of that and doing upgrades, and then later in the year the new layout's coming. And you know, we just keep plugging away with everything. We keep getting the new magazine ready. The next one will be out in June. And I can tell you now that we did finally get all the AOKs. The cover story of our June issue is going to be Call of Duty Ghosts, so we're going to be looking forward to that. But in the 30-40 minutes or so that we have now, we're going to do a real abbreviated version of the panels I do at Phoenix Comicon and conventions. We're not going to do the games and tech one. We're going to talk about the movies of 2014 through 2017. And these are the ones, they haven't even filmed these things yet. Most of them are a little more than concepts on a script page, but we've been doing this panel for 14, 15 years now, and multiple locations throughout the country and Canada. And this will be our 3rd year doing Phoenix Comicon, and we really enjoy that. And for how many of you guys are planning on going or have gone in the past or anything like that? Okay. If you have questions, they've got their table out there, and they do a lot of good charity stuff. I don't know if you've seen the lineup of guests this year. They've got guys from Star Trek, they've got the Walking Dead people out there, they've got the Babylon 5, they've got the creator, and almost everybody associated with it is coming out and doing the 20th reunion of that, so that's going to be a lot of entertainment. So, I guess since we're talking Marvel, you have to talk Disney, since I'm sure you're all aware that Disney owns Marvel Comics now, and that's where you're getting all these films from. Well, Disney made another purchase recently. I'm sure you heard about their $4.4 billion purchase of all things Lucas. And the moment I heard them announce it, Lucas had just said a few months earlier, no more Star Wars films, that's it. It's going to be a TV series and more animated shows, more video games, that's it. And I said, there's no way Disney would pay that kind of money without being able to make lucrative movies. And so very soon after, you guys obviously have heard that there's the new, sequel trilogy, episodes 7, 8, and 9 coming. Then they announced, well, we're going to do a couple standalone movies too. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Disney has said that the plan right now, starting in 2015, is one movie every year for the foreseeable future. I have been told they basically blocked out the next 10 years, 2015 to 2025, one Star Wars movie every year. Now this means that some of them will be, for example, this is how it's going to work. 2015, if all goes as planned, Episode 7 comes out. 2016, you get a standalone movie. 2017, you get Episode 8. Next year, you get a standalone. The next year, they complete the series and then go on with standalones. Now, what are the standalone films going to be about? That's the million-dollar question. We understand Boba Fett is going to be the topic of one of them. At least that's the leading thing. We understand that Yoda is being looked at for another one. Some may be 1,000 years in the future. Some may be 2,000, 3,000 years in the past, back into the glory days of the Sith and the Old Republic. Everything's on the table right now. Now, officially, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill have not signed. They have said that there has been contact. It's looking good, but nothing is set as of yet. And then Carrie Fisher tweeted something very interesting just the other day to her followers, and we got a confirmation on this. She said that Disney is sending a trainer to her to help her get in shape. So, you can kind of figure out now, what do you think Disney would be sending a trainer to Carrie Fisher for? Not Postcards from the Edge Part 2, I don't think. So, never know. Now, I'm sure you've heard that they've canned the animated series right now. There were the Clone Wars, there were a few episodes that were in development, and this has caused a little bit of an uproar amongst the fans because they have a, how would you put this? They have an unfinished story arc involving Sifo Dyas that any of the hardcore followers know. He's the guy who supposedly ordered the clone army, and there's been a big debate amongst fans as to who exactly he was, how he fit into the picture, what happened to him. They have these episodes almost done, and the question's going to be when and how are they going to show them, because Disney officially has said, we're not going to order new episodes, we're not going to put anything new on Cartoon Network. However, we do acknowledge that there are yet to be shown episodes of the Clone War that were being prepped for the upcoming season. Those apparently are going to be finished as planned. However, always a however with these things, they're moving ahead with their new animated show. Now, when a company acquires another company, you can pretty much guess layoffs happen. And I'm sure you heard about how LucasArts, the video game division, was pretty much disbanded. And while they're keeping it, it's going to be kind of a licensing agreement. If you're a video game company and you want to make a Star Wars game, you come to them, you cut a deal with them, you say, you know, here's $20, $30 million for the rights to make the game. They will say, okay, you have the rights to make a LucasArts branded game. You go off and have all the risk and make it, and then we get a share of the profits. That's going to be how it works. They had a game in the works before the merger called Star Wars 1313 that everybody was very excited about. It was basically a cutting-edge Mass Effect style Star Wars game that's set on the 1313 level of Lower Coruscant, which was supposed to be so bad that to please the Jedi, nobody wanted to go there. And they showed us a teaser of it at E3 last year, which is the big gaming expo, and said it will be the first ever mature-rated Star Wars game. So mature language, subject matter, violence, everything. That one got axed. And they said, unfortunately, if someone wants to pick it up and try to cut a deal to finish it, they can. The problem being that the development team's scattered everywhere, so you'd have to almost start fresh. So, naturally, there's some unhappy people out there. And a few days ago, a series of script pages, 6 of them, came out. And the guy basically said, well, you know, these were under lock and key. We're not supposed to talk about it, but since I don't work there anymore, here they are. And it outlined a new animated series set 15 years after Return of the Jedi, involving a young female named Calrissian, a senator named Leia Organa. No mention of Luke or Han, but talked about all these characters. It talked about Mon Mothma is now the grand leader of everything. It talked about all these new Jedis, all these new characters, and how there's still a state of civil war in the galaxy between those who are still loyal to the Empire, even though the Republic has basically been restored. And then a new threat emerges from 1313 level of Coruscant that basically puts the galaxy right at the edge of war again. Now, the interesting thing about it is people are saying this might actually be real because whether it comes to fruition or not, this is definitely a project that was being actively discussed prior to the layoffs. The plan was that some of these characters would be introduced and would eventually segue over to the live-action films the following year. So that was the thought, that they would introduce some of these guys in an animated form and then move over. Now, before a lot of you came in, we were discussing Prometheus. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about exactly what happened, what exactly it means in terms of the alien universe. Well, don't fret. 20th Century Fox has questions too, and that's why Prometheus 2 with a plan for Prometheus 3 are in pre-production right now. The problem is they don't have the script figured out. The original script for Prometheus was a straight-up alien prequel that had the eggs, had the creatures, and all of that. Ridley Scott liked the idea, but he said, I don't want a direct correlation, gave it to someone to rewrite and said, set it in the same universe, give it nods, don't be so direct with it. So now the problem is, where do you go with the sequel? Well, they want to go to the engineer's homeworld, great, where do you go from there? But they have plans for that and a third one. Now, Ridley Scott's also going to be very busy. We had a teleconference with him recently, and you know, when you think of Ridley Scott, obviously you think of Alien, and then there's this other big science fiction film, and that would be Blade Runner. And the rights to Blade Runner recently became available for sequels and prequels. The legal agreement is you can do sequels, you can do prequels, you cannot remake the original, you cannot touch the original, or do anything that undermines or changes the characters or the storylines of the originals. So, Ridley Scott has announced that he is going to be doing a follow-up to Blade Runner, and to make sure everything is done correctly, he has hired Hampton Fincher, who wrote the original Blade Runner screenplay, to do the sequel. So you'll be seeing that. The problem is, he's committed to doing a film that he's working on right now, and then somewhere in the mix is Prometheus 2, somewhere in the mix is Blade Runner 2, so it all comes down to which one gets the money together, which one gets the script together, and which one they can move on to. How many of you guys, by show of hands, got a chance to, either in the theaters or DVDs, check out Arnold Schwarzenegger's return with The Last Stand? Yeah. Kind of swept under, didn't get the attention I thought it was going to, but Hollywood's undaunted. They've got a lot of projects for Arnold, not only a third Expendables movie, which Stallone did offer Mel Gibson to direct, but Mel passed on it. They have another person directing it. Little thing called Terminator 5, and it is currently in the planning stages. They've started up, it's over the years, another Terminator film was started, stopped, but this time it's actually got direction. The last idea was Justin Lin, who you guys probably know from doing the Fast and Furious films. He's already committed to doing Part 7, which is going to be, they're going to start filming that very soon, because the plan is to put it out next summer. They're literally they're so confident that 6 is going to be a massive hit, 7's already in the coming, and yes, The Rock is going to be back for Part 7 as well. And what they're basically doing is they've got a director called Patrick Lussier, and you guys wouldn't know the name, but you probably know his films. Drive Angry 3D, My Bloody Valentine 3D, and there was a film with Leonardo DiCaprio called Shutter Island. I'm sure you may have heard of that. It's a very creepy mystery film set into a mental asylum. They've hired him to write the screenplay for it. So basically what you're looking at is a darker, edgier Terminator with 3D aspects, and that's kind of where they're leaning toward right now. So we'll see how that plays out. Superman, you guys interested in Man of Steel? Would you guys be shocked if I told you the sequel's already written and in early pre-production stages? Nope. Yeah. They're unlike the previous one, where they said, oh boy, you know, it made a lot of money, but not as much as we'd like. They've already said, yeah, just go ahead and get going on it. So you'll be seeing that in a couple of years. Now, last summer, we got a chance to talk with David Duchovny, who was out promoting a movie called Goats, which ironically is set out in Tucson. And you can bet whenever David Duchovny is around, You talk to him about Californication, and then there's this other little vanity project he did for several years on the Fox network. I think it's called The X-Files. And that always comes up. And so naturally, we had to ask him the question about whether or not there's going to be any more X-Files. And ironically, the answer was yes. Now here's the funny thing. There is a new graphic arts series that Chris Carter has put together, comic book form, that sort of thing, which is a season 10 of the X-Files, and it's just now getting ready to come out. He also said he's really ticked off with Fox because he said they've got a franchise and they need to be developing it more. But here's the interesting thing. Chris Carter, who created it, Gillian Anderson and him, they have all said they want to do another one. They have another one in place. They're waiting for Fox to basically say, yes, go ahead and do it. And the problem is they were hoping to have it out last year because it basically centers around December 2012, which, if you ever remember, that was the date that Mulder found out Earth was set for colonization, and the whole series hinged upon that date. Would humanity be colonized? Would we be saved? What was the alien conspiracy? All of that. And so it's kind of interesting, we're very like-minded on this. He feels that the whole X-Files series is basically invalidated unless you resolve the whole point of the series. And so that's where they're at right now. But he does say that they are planning it. They're just waiting for Fox to do that. So, the next film we got here is Indiana Jones 5, which was definitely on the drawing board, was all set to go. And then Lucas basically retired. But then said, well, if Steve and I can come up with a great idea, we'll go ahead and do it. And then the problem is Harrison kind of got shocked the world by going back to the one character he said I'd never do again, which makes me wonder how many zeros were added to that paycheck, because he had said for 20 years, I'm done playing Han Solo, I wanted to kill him off in Return of the Jedi, there's nothing more I could do with that character. Now he's had a change of heart, so we'll see how that plays out. So we're in the summer now. We got, do you guys know what's happening in July in Hawaii and Louisiana? Something you're going to be seeing in June of next year, barring any delays. A little movie called Jurassic Park 4 is finally happening. It is the first of the new trilogy. It will be, unlike 3D, which was converted, this will be shot from the ground up in 3D. They're going to be introducing some new dinosaurs that we haven't seen, and they're also going to be using some new advanced graphic programs to give you a new style of look that you haven't seen. Now, here's what's very interesting about this. They started filming it in July. It's going to be out in June. If anybody knows how they make these kind of films, visual effects alone for a film like that are at least 18 to 24 months. That means either you're going to hire every available graphic artist in Hollywood in the world to work on your effects, or they've already started on it, and then they're just going to shoot the live action parts later. And this is where it gets very interesting. Anybody here follow a lot of Netflix streaming and stuff? There's a movie out called Safety Not Guaranteed. And it's a little small independent film, $200,000 movie. And the interesting thing about it is the director of that, his name is Colin Trevorrow, is going to be directing Jurassic Park 4. Now, here's where it gets interesting. He was also on the short list to direct the new Star Wars film. The guy has done one movie only, a $200,000 art film that has next to no special effects, no 3Ds, and no major stars in it. And yet he all of a sudden became Hollywood's golden child and had both Star Wars and Jurassic Park in his grasp and was handed Jurassic Park. And so I'm trying not to be pessimistic, but I'm going, never done a big budget movie, never worked with big name stars, never filmed in 3D, never filmed with special effects, and you're handing over your biggest franchise to him. But thankfully there is a producer on board who knows what he's doing, some guy named Spielberg. So I'm pretty confident that this thing is going to come across without a hitch, but they will be filming that very, very soon. James Cameron's got Avatar 2 through 4 in the planning stages. 4, if it comes to fruition, is going to be a prequel, but 2 and 3 are definitely going to be happening. And you know how he advanced the new 3D technology with Avatar? He's taken him up a notch for the next one, because he's been very ticked off about the frequency of how a lot of 3D movies are basically regular movies that they converted to 3D. And so he's been very big. You guys see The Hobbit with the 72 frames per second? He's found a new way to take that up even more. So that's what we'll be seeing in 2015 if all goes well with that one. We talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger earlier. And would you be shocked if I told you that they've approached him to do the third Conan the Barbarian film that has been long sitting? And, despite the disaster of that recent one at the box office, Arnold was like, yeah, let's talk. So they're planning it. In Hollywood, when they say this is definitely going to be the last of these movies in a series and there won't be any more, and that was the case when Resident Evil 5 came out, and they said, that's it, we're going to wrap it up. And then you see the way the movie ended, and you're like, huh. And then it goes on to make a lot of money. And so what do you think Sony announced the other day? Yeah, Part 6 with plans on a Part 7. So, yeah. You remember Chucky? Yeah. They're going to be redoing Chucky in 3D, so you get to look forward to that one. The Punisher, they're going to remake that one. Remember American Werewolf in London? Yeah. It's coming back, and guess how you're going to be seeing it this time? 3D. There you go. Remember Dog Soldiers, that really good direct-to-DVD film? If you haven't seen it, it's fantastic. It's about a group of Scottish soldiers that get stuck up in the Highlands by a bunch of werewolves. It's quite good as those films go. They've got a sequel called Fresh Meat that's going to be coming very soon. Video game players, anyone out there? Deus Ex is coming up. Heavy Rain, the classic PlayStation 3 game. So, well, I guess I can tell you about that one. This one takes a little setup. You guys are familiar with Stargate, and you're familiar with Independence Day, those type of films. Roland Emmerich, Dean Devlin. Dean Devlin is the producer, and he has his TV shows that he's been doing. We interviewed him a little while ago, a couple of years ago now, actually. It's amazing how time flies. And I said to him at the end of the interview, I said, look, can I ask you a question here? I know you get asked this a lot, but I always hear, the answer reported online, and if you don't mind, I'd love to hear it directly from you. And he said, sure. I said, what's the story about a sequel to Stargate and a sequel to Independence Day? And he paused for a second. He said, well, we always wanted to do 2 sequels to Stargate, but the TV shows went off in directions that we never imagined. And he said at that point we felt it was best to let them run their course before we did new movies. So right now they're thinking about doing a remake of Stargate and going from there. And then you get to Independence Day. And he said, believe it or not, we never, ever planned on doing a sequel to Independence Day. And then it made all the money, and everybody wanted it, and the studios wanted it. And he said, to be very honest, 9/11 happened, and we didn't think the, showing cities being destroyed wholesale was a good idea. And he said, now that 10 years or so have passed, we've actually given some thought to it, and we've come up with a 2-part storyline. So here they are now, they've got this storyline all planned out, and Will Smith's a little bit of a holdup. Supposedly, Will wanted $30 million per movie guaranteed plus a share of the profits to start the discussion. There were other perks as well. So what did they do? They have 2 versions of the script, one with Will, one without. Now, it kind of went into developmental limbo where they thought, oh, this isn't going to happen, we're not going to see anything about it, because, they're waiting on Fox to come back and say, well, this is a go, this is not a go. And then Bill Pullman, who played the president, who has that new show where he plays, ironically, the president on NBC, was asked, Bill, if you're playing the president in this, is this going to make it difficult for you to be in any Independence Day sequels? And he paused for a second and he said, you know what, we've already went over this and they've already said it's not a problem, and so, by the way, I'm not the president any longer in the sequels. So, next thing you know, they're on Fox's radar as something they definitely want to be putting out very soon. Let's see, Fury Road, you guys know about Fury Road? also known as Mad Max 4. That is currently filming after several years worth of delays. Tom Hardy, you know, Bane, Shinzon, is going to be playing the new Max because Mel said basically I'm getting too old for it, but his company is producing it. George Miller, who created the series, is writing and directing it, and Charlize Theron is going to be in it as well. There is a picture available of this. Basically, younger version, Mel Gibson, you know, still angry, still upset, still out in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. And one of the characters is a quadruple amputee, and if this all goes well, they're going to swing over to a new film called Furiosa, so two-part film if all goes well. Anyone here excited for Star Trek Into Darkness? I won't spoil anything because I haven't seen it yet, but the radio show up in Seattle got to see it the other day. The host of the show is, I mean, I like Star Trek, don't get me wrong. He is like absolutely fanatical about it. He said it was without a doubt the best of the Star Trek films of any of them that he has ever seen. So he was completely blown away by it, and it was awesome. So he's already bought his advance tickets to go back and see it again. So I'm really looking forward to our screener. And you guys are going to love this too. We really enjoyed seeing this one the other night. I mention that because Captain Kirk is being looked at for a hero role. They are considering him to play the Flash, if it comes to fruition. Unfortunately, with the issue that the Green Lantern had, they've kind of killed the ideas for Green Lantern sequels, but you will see them in the Justice League, which they are still planning on doing, Justice League of America. Ryan Reynolds will likely not play the Green Lantern in that, but Reynolds has said, yes, he's still going to be playing Deadpool in the planned movie that is coming out. And for video game players, Activision is putting a Deadpool video game out soon, so kind of, you can bet if the game is a big hit, you might see the movie sooner rather than later. I'm guessing if you're seeing this, you're a fan of the Avengers. And I'm guessing you might have seen a movie called The Crow. They were at one time looking at Bradley Cooper to play the new Crow, and he kind of passed on that. Now the rumor is Loki is going to be playing good old Tom. Now he's saying, no, not true, not true, not true, but the trades are all reporting he's the one they're starting to look at very seriously. Speaking of which, have you guys seen the trailer for the new Thor movie that's coming out in the fall? Looks fantastic, doesn't it? So I'm really excited about that. We got some photos the other day as well from the new Captain America, and looking really good. Kind of like, I guess I would call it Avengers Light is the best way. A lot of scenes with him and Black Widow in the photos we were released, but looking very good. You guys remember Battleship? That made all this money overseas, and then when they put it here, it bombed horribly and pretty much killed the franchise. They've got film rights optioned all over Hollywood on several board games and video games. So would you be shocked if I told you Asteroids, Missile Command, Monopoly, and Candyland are all being looked at as movies right now, as well as Mousetrap, if any of you remember that? Yes, so... Lone Ranger. Now, this is one that I'm really on a fence over. Honestly speaking, how many of you people are excited about the Lone Ranger this year? Yeah. Do you know the budget on this thing is getting close to $300 million? It was at $270 million the last time they checked it. They tried to shave it down, and then all this weather and all kinds of delays, sets, problems, the budget's gone through the roof. And this is before they've even spent money on advertising, duplication, promotion. I had one person say the movie's got to make, at this point, they're estimating $500 million worldwide before it breaks even. And you remember Disney's still stinging from that John Carter that just now made back its production money thanks to home video and foreign market. And, you know, you would say, well, gee, Disney's kind of a financially frugal company. Why are they doing this? Well, Johnny Depp made it very clear that there's a certain character they like him to play that makes them a lot of money, and if you want to see him again, he wants the Lone Ranger to happen. So true to his word, now that the Lone Ranger has happened, Captain Jack Sparrow is going to be coming back in the not-too-distant future, as they have begun. Now, they haven't signed contracts or anything yet, but they have started the scripting process of writing the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So, they figure small price to pay. Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes Part 2, moving along very clearly. The folks, I can tell you this, the guys, the two who wrote the Rise of the Planet of the Apes movie are the ones who wrote the screenplay for the new Jurassic Park film. So at least you can kind of get an idea where they're going. Andy Serkis is definitely going to be back playing Caesar again and doing the motion capture. Ben Stiller fans out there. Deafening silence. Night at the Museum 3. Come on, take a guess. Huh? In 3D, absolutely correct. Clash of the Titans 3 in 3D. There you go. And why are we getting Clash of the Titans 3? Very simple, folks. It used to be that the box office was North America with a little bit of Europe, Australia, Japan, and Western Europe thrown in. Things have changed. A lot of movies make more money overseas than they do in North America now. And that's why, like, for example, I don't know if you heard, Iron Man's already out in parts of the world. It hit 309 million worldwide at the box office already. So all this talk about, Robert Downey Jr. saying, well, maybe after Avengers 2 I'm out. They're probably going to basically put a blank check in front of him and say, just fill in your salary for Iron Man 4. And, I don't care how big, how powerful you are. If the studio's offering you $30 million or so, very hard to turn that down. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'm not showing my age too much on this one, but do you guys remember Lee Majors? And if I told you they were going to be making a movie on a very popular, long-running Lee Majors television show, what would you guys say? $6 Million Man, exactly right, and you know what? You're wrong. It's The Fall Guy. So, bonus points if you can remember the theme song. We mentioned Will Smith earlier, and assuming After Earth doesn't, oh boy, bad choice of words, but assuming his new movie After Earth doesn't take it at the box office, he's kicking around the idea for I Am Legend 2. So we'll see how that plays out. Toy Story 4 is being looked at. Call of Duty, we hear that all the time. Jurassic Park 5 is already planning. Like I said, it's the first of a new trilogy. They're going to try to dust Halo off again. That's assuming the... on the 21st of this month, Microsoft is going to officially announce the new Xbox console. However, we've heard, since we do game coverage, there's a small problem. It's probably not going to make it out this year, unlike the PlayStation 4. And one of the problems is something that Sony's probably laughing all the way to the bank over. When they created the last console, Sony adapted the Blu-ray technology. Microsoft chose HD DVD, and we all know which one survived in the recent battle of VHS and Beta. So now they have to basically put a Blu-ray in the new Xbox. Well, guess who owns the Blu-ray technology? Guess who they have to put a very hefty licensing agreement with? Who is probably sitting there going, you can sell as many of those things as you like as long as we get a cut of each single one that rolls off the assembly line. And what we're hearing is that they're having a little bit of an issue over the licensing agreement, which will possibly delay the new console until 2014, which will allow the PlayStation 4 to be out several months before the new Xbox console. But we'll wait and see how that plays out. I mentioned that because that's going to kick into gear possible film productions of Halo and Gears of War. Rush Hour 4, I don't think is going to happen. Jackie Chan's kind of retired. If I were to tell you don't feed them after midnight, what would you think? What would you say if I told you they're finally thinking about how to do the Gremlins again? Remake in 3D, CGI, no puppets this time. So. But I've been hearing that for about 10 years, so again, believe it when I see it. Predators, did you like the last one? Yes. Robert Rodriguez has said once he gets through with the next Machete film, you'll be seeing the first part of that soon. He does still have plans to make another one. He's just waiting for the studio to say go ahead. You already know about Captain America 2. It's always fun when you have to do a 2-hour panel in about 45 minutes. So like I said, if you want the full detailed one with all the bells and whistles and the special effects, check it out. Phoenix Comicon will be doing that. We'll do that in a few weeks. Any Rocky and Bullwinkle fans? Do you guys remember the other cartoon on Rocky and Bullwinkle? Boris and Natasha was definitely one. I'm thinking a little guy and his dog. Sherman and Peabody. They're on the planning stages. So, Disney's basically in the business of doing Star Wars, Marvel, and animated films now, and I'm sure you have heard that the entire cast is coming back for Finding Dory in 2015, which will, obviously, Dory's absent-minded, she gets lost, and so they have to find her. Ant-Man and Black Panther are being kicked around by the studio. They're also kicking around the idea for She-Hulk. Boy, I really debated whether or not to tell you this one or not, because nothing has been firmed up yet, but J.J. Abrams is kicking around Star Blazers and trying to acquire the rights to the old Toy Stories, the Micronauts. If anyone remembers those from back in the late 70s, early 80s, they were a very popular toy line, so you might be seeing those. You know there's a new Transformers trilogy underway, right? Yeah, so don't need to tell you about that. Robocop. I can't not tell you about this. Where Hugh Laurie was going to be the bad guy, and in the middle of production he said, you know what, I can't do this and I'm out of here. And he walked, and so Batman Michael Keaton had to replace him. And Joel Kinnaman, who's in The Killing, which you can see on AMC and stuff like that, played the new Robocop. Now, you were supposed to see that movie in about 7 weeks. And they pushed it back till next year. And can you guys take a guess why they pushed it back for a year? That's part of it. When the director comes out and says, this has been the absolute worst experience I've ever had making a movie, and is going on social networks saying about how he can't do anything without the studio interfering and how it's a horrible mess, that's usually a sign that you don't have a hit film on your hand. Yeah. Someone asked me about this earlier. Yeah, it's going to happen. 21 Jump Street 2 is already in the rapid development stage. And you guys remember Captain Corn Syrup himself, Stretch Armstrong? They're doing a movie on Stretch. Masters of the Universe is coming back. Dumb and Dumber, Part 2. And of course there's a new Muppets movie coming. So everyone can be thrilled about that. And let's see. New James Bond movie. You guys know about Godzilla, right? Oh, you don't know about this? Okay. They are doing a new Godzilla movie that they've been filming in British Columbia in 3D, and it is basically like mixing the US version of it with the Japanese style. But mass destruction, you'll be seeing that if all goes well next year. You know about Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Marvel Comics series, that's happening. In fact, the director is over in Europe right now, getting ready. The Smurfs 3, Hotel Transylvania 2, remaking the Fantastic Four, Mission Impossible 5 is coming, and let's see, I know we got to get going because you're going to be starting really soon, so I have just enough time for a couple of quick questions. And also, if you didn't get any of the prizes, check the box office on the way out. We're going to leave some of the mini posters and stuff there for you. But obviously, you can catch us on there while we're restoring the site and putting the new graphics in. Any questions that come to mind, ask. We always answer the questions. If you're going to Phoenix Comicon, 12 noon on the Saturday is our big panel. You got to get there early because the fire marshal shut it down the last couple of years toward access because we filled up really quick. You know, the 700 seats do tend to fill up very quickly, but we got a lot of stuff going. We got prizes and charity drives, and we're also going to be showing you some pictures. We're also going to have the brand new trailer for the Chronicles of Riddick 3. which will be out very soon. And we got an email from Vin Diesel saying the studio just approved the trailer, and you should be seeing that in about a week or two. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the film, and like I said, make sure you stay until after the credits. There is a bonus scene you are not going to want to miss, and it's quite good. So, thank you.